Alright, this is Helix Wire. It's a older concept. This was the first build video I ever did, was on Helix Wire. It's going to be a little bit better quality video here on this build. And the basic concept is you've got 24 gauge twisted and then 28 gauge twisted into those gaps. And so it's 4 wires total. The ohms on this is right at 0.2 ohms on a single coil. 5 wrap single coil, 3 32" bit inner diameter, and I'll just go ahead and fire it up. We're firing this at 3.8 volts on the IPv3, and it lights up really evenly and pretty instantaneously, even at the lower voltage setting. And the reason for the twists here, or the benefits of it, is that each twist and each of these little grooves holds on to juice. So you got juice channels going all throughout this coil. And so the wire itself has wicking properties, which most of my builds, you'll notice that's what kind of attracts my attention. But this was the first coil that really performed better than a standard coil, that got my attention and got me really into building these more intricate ones. So I'll fire it up one more time. And that's the basic concept of it. It's really pretty simple build. It performs really well, and I think it's a pretty good payoff for the amount of work that needs to be put into it. So, hope you guys enjoyed the build video, and let's get to it. Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. I got some exciting news. Teamed up with Vape, and my atomizer is being produced right now. So that should be out pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about that. We've got some new items on my website. Possum Trot e-liquid, something I've been vaping for a long time now. I work with the people who make it, and it's delicious, so that's on my website now. I would check that out. Got Anarchist Wire from Homeboy OC. Later on, in early April, Niagara Falls, there's the ECC convention, and Local Vape is taking me, Squid Dude, and Homeboy OC out there to do like a build conference kind of thing. I don't know what we're going to do. But we'll figure it out. It's going to be pretty epic to meet all those people. But yeah, I got Anarchist Wire on my website as well. I've been really liking that stuff. And I got some 36 gauge nichrome on there. I couldn't find any, so I just ordered a whole bunch of it. And there should be a coupon code for that down in the description. But this build video is going to be on Helix Wire, which is actually the first build video that I ever filmed. And it was just pretty poor quality, and I wanted to revisit it. I don't think that video does it justice. It's still a really good performer. It's a relatively easy build. I would say probably the easiest build video that I've done as far as difficulty level, and it performs really well. So the payout is great, and I'll just show you a little performance here. Did a 5 wrap single coil, came out to 0.2 ohms. And I'm firing it right at 75, 76 watts on the IPv3. Performs really well. This is the first wire that I noticed the wicking properties that wire can have. And so, shout out to Chris Lewis, who was the first one that I saw do this exact combination. He's an awesome guy. He's really into building as well. He's the first person I saw do this. I saw his version of the wire, and I thought, that looks awesome, so I gave it a shot, and I got hooked on it, and that's what really got me into building in the first place. So it's a great coil. Performs really well. And this is just at like 3.8 volts. And it keeps up well with wicking. Get a really nice flavor off of it. And I went ahead and spent all of yesterday filming. I filmed another build, which is also Helix Wire, but I used 36 gauge to Clapton around it. So it ended up being really long. I was going to put them all together, but even I'm embarrassed to post like an hour long or more video. So it'll be easier too with it in 2 parts. So there'll be a second video as well. It should be dropping pretty soon. I already finished filming the majority of it. So that'll be coming soon. That's about it. Let's go ahead and get started on the build video. Okay guys, as I already mentioned, about a year ago I did a video on Helix Wire. and I wanted to revisit that and make a little bit better quality video. It's a little bit easier to follow. So I'm going to do the original build first, using 24 gauge and 28 gauge Canthal wire, and then I'm going to do another build that incorporates some 36 gauge Nichrome 80 and some Anarchist wire. I'm going to use 26 gauge on that, and I'll kind of show you some of the more intricate possibilities there are with the Helix wire. But first off, I'm just going to go ahead and get started on this one. So to get started, all you're going to need is some 24, some 28, clippers, pliers, and a drill. And all I'm going to do is grab off a couple lengths of this 24 gauge and straighten it out in the drill. By this time, I think most people are pretty familiar with how to straighten wire out in a drill. I'm just going to go ahead and throw some in here. Clamp it down. And it doesn't matter which direction you go, just go ahead and twist it up. So I grab the other end with pliers, and I'm just going to twist it up till it's straight. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to where it's going to straighten out when you let go of it. So now you get a nice straight piece of wire. And then what you're going to want to do is do it with two separate wires, or you can cut it in half and put them together. And then just take the other side, grab it with a set of pliers, and grab some more pliers and just twist these up, twist up the ends. I've already prepared this ahead of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab that length right now. So you get them twisted up on the ends, and then you just stick it into the drill. You want to get a good grip on it. And I'm just going to actually tighten it down a little bit more. And it doesn't matter which way you do this, if you do it clockwise or counterclockwise twist, just keep in mind that the other wire that's going to go into those grooves is going to have to be in the same direction. So I'd go whichever direction you're most comfortable with twisting. And I'm just going to grab the other end here with some pliers and twist it up. Now I know this wire can twist a lot more than that, but I'm going to stop right there. And before letting go, I'm just going to grab it, just so that when it releases that tension, it doesn't kink up at all. And then all you're going to do is grab a length of 28 gauge, and I like to grab about twice the length of however long this twisted wire ends up being. So you just kind of unspool it and eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. Now if you've ever done a Clapton coil before, this is probably going to be really easy for you. You just go ahead and stick it in the chuck of the drill, the 28 gauge, just like you would with the Clapton wire. And just make sure it's getting caught in there while you're twisting it. Again, the same direction that you did it originally. And where we're going to line that up is we're actually going to get this 28 gauge to go into the grooves of that twist. Oops. Stick it back in. There we go. And at the beginning, if you don't get it right, don't worry about it. You just want to get a length around there in order to grab onto that core wire. And so I'm just going to kind of pull it. You want to grip it pretty hard. And you have to get it at the right angle in order to follow into that groove. And once it gets into the right groove, it's pretty easy to just keep going. If you make a mistake, just like anything else, you can back it up a little bit. Okay, and then at the end, just go ahead and clip it off. And I'm going to zoom in close and go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you something real quick and show you what you should be looking at. Okay, so you can see the 24 gauge here, the thicker wire. And you'll notice that that 28 gauge is going around and following that groove. Now, you'll notice that part of the twisted 28 4 gauge has an empty groove here, because when you twist it up, it creates two slots where that wire can fit into. So all I'm going to do now is stick this second wire back into the chuck of the drill, and we're just going to get it into that other groove that's now opened up. Once you get it around there, you want to pull quite a bit of tension, just so you can make sure that it gets into that second groove there. And once you get good at it, you can go pretty quickly. Now up close here, you can see where one of those isn't quite perfect, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. But you basically just want to keep going along the whole length of the wire until both of those grooves are filled with a smaller gauge. Alright, so you'll notice quite a bit of unevenness in this wire that I just made. Mostly just the angle that I was at. It was kind of hard to get it in there. But I'm just going to go ahead and clip off that front part that has those imperfections, and I already clipped off this other part that had the loose ends on it. You take this junk out of the drill, get rid of it. I'm going to stick this back into the drill here. Now you wouldn't want to just wrap a coil with it this loose, and I'm going to show you here. I'm going to get some of these imperfections out, show you how to do that, and then we're going to tighten it up quite a bit. So make sure while you're doing this tightening process that you have the drill going in the same direction that you just twisted it up. I'm just going to grab the toothless pliers. These are just pliers with no teeth on them. They're smooth. And I'm just going to lightly grab onto this wire and just spin it as we go. Not too hard at this point. And what that does is it tightens that wire around the core wire. And that's what's kind of nice about Helix wire, is that even if you don't get it perfect right from the beginning, you can tighten it up and clean it up a lot. I'm just going to do that one more time right now. Real quickly. Just to ensure that we have it nice and smooth and even. Now, since it's already in there, in the drill and everything, I'm just going to grab this other side with some pliers, and what you can do is tighten this up just a little bit more. So, and while you twist this, go ahead and let it contract just like other twisted wires, and this gets it nice and tight. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, and I think that should do it. It usually just takes a couple of turns. That tightens it up quite a bit. I'll go ahead and show you a macro shot of what this wire looks like right now. Okay, and basically what you should be looking at is a pretty uniform piece of wire. And you just need to wash this. I like to wash mine with dish soap and water, but even just a real thorough rinse should do the trick. If you had an ultrasonic cleaner, of course, that'd be better, but for this wire, there's not a lot of nooks and crannies for stuff to get stuck in, so I feel comfortable personally just washing it with some light detergent and water. But that's what you should be looking at, and you're almost ready to wrap the coil. Okay, and then you have there's a usable piece of wire here. You have the option at this point, if you wanted to stick it back in the drill and continue flattening it, you totally could. And this is actually where I got the idea for spiral wire. Because Chris Lewis over at the Builders Bar Facebook group about a little over a year ago. This is what started it all, really. I saw him. It's a variation on one of my wickless coils that he came up with, and that's really what got my gears turning and got me kind of overly obsessed with coil building. That's what gave me the idea for the spiral wire and the eventual zipper coil. So it's pretty neat stuff. Now once you got your coil, it's just like anything else, just wrap a coil with it. And it's pretty stiff. So try to get it at the right angle from the start. And then as you're wrapping it, it's a good idea to just let this wire always stay in the same position as it's going around and make sure it's not twisting up as you go. So just kind of put some force on it, and then you can let go. And around those bends, you don't want to twist the wire itself. And the reason for that is if you twist it around, it can make those bends so they don't line up. And the problem with that is that it's like the more uniform you can get this to line up, the easier it is to get the hot spots out when you start pulsing it. And here's what you should end up with, is a really uniform coil with really nice tight twists. And things to watch out for at this point are making sure that all these little wires, there's none that are poking up really far outside of the parameters of the coil. Just because if they get out too far, what can happen is the juice from the coil, from the cotton or whatever wick you're using, isn't going to be able to travel up there effectively. So you're going to end up with hot spots, and it's going to cause harshness on the throat. When I say hot spots, I don't mean like it's shorting out. What I mean is that the wire isn't in contact with the liquid, so it's going to overheat and break down that e-liquid and cause like a harsher throat hit. So if you got any wires that are poking up really high, you want to try to get those. See if you can't force them down so they're closer to the coil. And if they're up too high, I mean, you're not necessarily going to get an enjoyable vape out of this, so I'd probably just redo it. But this is kind of the effect that you're looking for with just the standard original Helix wire. Okay, I'm going to be throwing this on the Cabron atomizer. I've been using this atomizer a lot lately. Comp Vape sent me a couple of them, and I've just been loving the huge post holes on this thing. So I've been throwing a lot of builds through this, and so far really impressed with the quality of it. So all I'm going to do is just stick that through, just like any other coil. And I'll go ahead and grab my screwdriver just to kind of support it while we tighten these down. Check for top cap clearance as usual. So I'm going to need that pretty much right up against those posts as we tighten this down. Grab the hex tool. There we go. Push it right up there against the posts and screw it down. Nice and snug. I'm going to go ahead and stick the screwdriver in from the other direction. Now that the center post is tightened down, push it over a little bit, double check for top cap clearance. And then while supporting it, I go ahead and push this down. And I got this on an unregulated box mod, just for dry firing and stuff. It makes me nervous when I have like my IPv3 or Sigelli 150 watt while I'm doing the dry firing, just because the resistance is jumping around while you're getting the hot spots out, because electricity is arcing directly through these wraps, and so you're going to have really low resistance, and then once the hot spot is out and it's oxidized a little bit, it's going to increase the resistance. And I feel, I mean, I'm sure that those boxes can handle it, I just don't have any desire to accidentally break them. So that's why I have an unregulated box, which is parallel 26650s, just so I can dry fire stuff without having to worry if I'm going to break my nice box mod. So I'm just going to clip off these extra wires here. And start firing it up. you can see here how it's arcing through the 28 gauge. And so all I'm going to do is just bend it up to where I want it anyway. Push it over a little bit. And as that gets oxidized, let go of the button. Give it a quick, just a little pinch with the pliers. And that looks good. Lighting up nice and evenly. Okay, I just got some organic cotton. I'm just going to pull it apart in my normal fashion. And just try to pull it in half here. And then just roll this portion out. Twist one end. Nothing really special about how to wick a Helix coil. Just like usual, you want it tight enough to where you can't just pull it out. But if you need to, you can pull it through. Just going to clip the ends off. Clip this end off too. Tuck it down in there. And juice it up. And the juice well on this El Cabron is humongous, which is pretty cool for dripping. Just gonna test fire it. And you should see the ohms at the beginning of the video. So let's get on to the next build.